Let's talk about the Google event first. Joining us right now from the Wall Street Journal, Nathan Olivarez-Giles. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, how's it going?
How's that Mac Pro I gave you working out?
Oh, so lovely.
Is it?
So nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
All right, the USB ports and everything all working?
Yeah, it all works. It all
Actually, I wonder, because we have an Apple event coming up this month, if they'll announce a new Mac Pro.
It would be about time, right?
About time. That thing is 3 years old.
3 years? Yeah.
It's long past time now.
I don't think they're going to do a new Mac Pro.
I think the chips for it actually don't. Intel's not going to have them ready until the spring, maybe. So
Nathan, you got the Mac Pro, the one and only.
The Mac Pro, yeah.
So limited edition.
I'm enjoying it.
So I was watching. I did see the Google event after the fact. I watched the stream. We did some great coverage. Jason Howell and everybody was here. First of all, that was a small event. You were in the room.
Yeah, it was only. I mean, it was one of the smallest Google events I've been to. Yeah. I think since the early Chromebook launches, there hasn't been much smaller. And I'm not entirely sure why that was. I think they're going for a little bit more of an intimate feel, but they also had to have more space for the hands-on area because they actually had like simulated living rooms so you could test out Google Home and things like that. So
it was an old chocolate factory power plant, he said.
Had a weird vibe to it, yeah. It was like, why here? Why here?
Watch for the Oompa Loompas. So let's start with the phones. The Pixel, and again, we knew most of this. We'd seen renders, we'd seen images. Pixel XL. Any surprises there?
Sadly not. I was really hoping for some surprises. I think maybe the biggest surprise might be that the software that you're going to get on the Pixel, for the most part, is specific to the Pixel, and it's not going to come to Nexus phones. So I think for the last 5-6 years, the promise has been that if you have a Nexus phone, you'll get the latest version of Android. And here Google is making something that is bespoke to this device. So the Google Assistant, which is their Siri competitor, is front and center with a long press on the home button, but it's only built into Android that way on the Pixel. So you're not going to get that on Nexus devices. And I think that's kind of a disappointment. But the hardware leaks, nothing was really surprising. I guess maybe one surprise might be that the 5-inch regular Pixel phone has a 1080p display, and I thought they would do a little bit better than that. I think that's actually kind of a bummer.
I don't know. I ordered that one because I was hoping the battery life would be a little bit better with just a 1080p display. Also,
it should be.
Because I couldn't get the big one because it was sold out. All of these phones got sold out so quickly, much like an Apple announcement.
You mentioned the features that are limited to the Pixel. One of the things that I thought was interesting is that they're adding some cloud features by giving free storage essentially to people who buy this phone.
I think that's really photos only, though, right? Or is it for other stuff too?
Well, I think it's all your photos at full quality.
Yeah,
but only for videos.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's actually pretty cool because I've been using the lower quality because I wanted unlimited storage.
Right.
Now I can do that in high quality, which is it only pictures you take on the Pixel, or is it all your images from now on?
Only pictures you take with the Pixel is my understanding. Okay. But we'll see once we get it into test. But yeah, it's kind of like what Amazon did with the Fire Phone, where if you take pictures with this device, they're going to be uploaded to the Google Photos app and to the cloud. I mean, you'll be able to get them anywhere else you have your Google Photos, but you won't be able to just get like unlimited free storage.
They did say that this DxOMark says this camera is the best camera phone, better than the iPhone, better than the Galaxy. This is the best camera phone ever.
By like 1 or 2 points.
No, by a few points. No OIS, which I think is disappointing.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm glad to see a better, because the Pixels, Nexus has never have great cameras, so this is.
That's been a major weakness. So yeah, the fact that it seems like they're taking this seriously, that's a big deal. I got some hands-on time with the devices, and in those demo rooms with poor lighting, it was really difficult to get a fair idea of how they'll hold up against what Samsung and Apple are putting out, which are really stellar these days.
Here's the shock for me was the sticker price. This is the same cost as the Apple iPhone, as the Galaxy S7 or Note 7. They are going high. And Nexus was never it was getting more expensive. It was never as expensive as the top of the line flagship phones. This is a flagship phone at a flagship price. Do you think that's going to hurt them?
I honestly think it might. I mean, the Nexus brand has always been kind of a niche thing anyways, and I think the aspiration here is to really go mainstream, but even undercutting the competition by even like $100, even maybe $150 would have served them well. And I think the reason is that Google has a history of failures in crossing over on the consumer hardware side outside of Chromecast, right? That's been like their one success. And part of the reason why that was such a big success was that it was $35. So, you know, I think people don't really take Google serious as a hardware brand yet. They want to change that, and I admire the ambition. But going toe-to-toe price-wise with Apple and Samsung from the get-go, I'm not sure that's really a good look.
The Google Assistant isn't just going to be on the Pixel phones. It's also going to be on the new Google Home, their Amazon Echo competitor. And if you have Allo on Android or iOS, you have it now, right? Or is that not the case?
Yeah, that is the case.
Okay.
It's the same assistant. It's just on Allo, you get to text message with it.
Right.
On Google Home, you can speak to it. And the way that it's built into the Android operating system on Pixel, you can speak to it. Strangely enough, you can't speak to it and text it in the same app, even though both of those abilities are on the Pixel phone,
right,
which is a bit of a head scratcher to me. I think that's going to come in time. It seems like they were just trying to get all this stuff out at once. And, you know, I want to give them a little bit of props for launching basically a phone, a speaker, and a messaging app at nearly the same time with the same assistant. But at the same time, you know, it's just kind of a weird disconnect that in one place you can talk to it via text, and the other place you can only talk to it via voice. It's a little bit weird there.
Is it your sense they plan to roll this out across all of Android eventually, that this is just kind of to get it going and then they'll slowly make it available for everybody?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I actually spoke with Rishi Chandra, who's overseeing the home device, and he used to run the Chromecast team. And he says that everywhere that Google exists, they want to have the assistant there too.
Okay.
So, you know, they're starting with the messaging app. They're starting with the Pixel and with the home speaker, but he was saying he'd love to see it built into Chromebooks and the Chrome operating system, Android television sets, you know, basically anything that they can get it into. Now, the reason, of course, is that they want to be able to answer your questions and take care of your needs anywhere. But the idea is this one computer that kind of follows you everywhere, that Star Trek computer kind of ideal that we've all been talking about for so long. And the only way to actually pull that off, they have to be everywhere. So now that being said, it was interesting to me that they didn't talk at all about Android Wear or Chromebooks or Android television sets or anything at this event. I mean, this is their big, you know, end of year, hey, buy this stuff for the holidays, you know, get your new phone. And they left out a good significant portion of the hardware efforts they already have underway.
Well, it's always a problem when you have a lot of stuff going on. You can't get it all into one event, but it does show you where they're focused. I think what's interesting in the long run, I know Apple with Siri wants to do this. Amazon wants to do with the Echo Assistant, Alexa.
Microsoft with Cortana.
They're all trying to get to the point where it is that Star Trek vision of you just talk and it responds. At this point, I think we're guinea pigs, whether it's on the iPhone or the Pixel phone. We're giving them the data, the feedback, the information. We're seeding this so that in a few years or maybe a decade, it'll finally live up to that potential. It doesn't now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, by to current standards, it's you know, super like in an infant stage. It's not even crawling.
We're teaching it.
Walking.
We're the ones teaching it, right?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you brought that up because the assistant on the speaker has the same privacy settings that you'd have with the assistant on the Allo app or any voice search that you're going to commit on the web or text search. So what that means is that all of your searches are encrypted in transit to Google. They decrypt that, and then they use their algorithms and their software to analyze what you're saying so that they can deliver you the proper response and give you this a feeling of having a conversation, essentially. But that means that those conversations are kept on their servers unencrypted. And, you know, that, of course, is a privacy concern for some. But this is what Google has been doing with all their stuff, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise. Now, that being said, you can still go to the Google My Account website, and you can still delete your voice searches as you would anything else, but they will show up as voice searches and not specific to the Google Assistant on Home. So you won't be able to differentiate in those settings. But it's nice that you have some control, and you can go back and delete that search history if you want to. But as we know, most people don't.
Were you able to play with the home device at all?
Yeah, I spent about a half hour with it.
What do you think?
You know, I really like it. It sounds a lot better than Echo does. Just as terms of audio.
They're claiming a better speaker.
Music.
Yeah,
it's a better speaker, and also it was just really, really fast and pretty accurate in terms of the voice commands I was throwing at it. Now, that being said, I was trying it before there were, hundreds of thousands, if not millions out there in the wild, which of course will slow things down a little bit. But as far as a prototype device goes, I was impressed, and I thought it was, really, really great. Now, what it doesn't do is control third-party apps. It doesn't even control some Google apps. So, for example, you could say, hey, what's on my calendar today? And it would say, okay, you have an episode of the new Screensavers coming up. You have this, that, and that. But you can't say something like, hey, when are the Giants playing? And then it will respond with 5 o'clock.
So it's a very limited. It's a very limited ecosystem compared to the Echo at this point.
Yeah, but Google's putting a lot of effort, and this is the focus of the company. They say. So I expect them to catch up, but they are playing catch up here, and the fact that you can't even add a calendar appointment with your voice yet.
Wow.
That's kind of like a little bit. Yeah. Now, also, it can only handle one Google account at a time. So if you have this in your home, everyone in your home is going to have access to your Google account.
That's
and let's say you're planning your daughter's birthday party, and she walks up and says, "What's on your calendar?" That might give the secret away, right?
The Echo didn't have this initially, but eventually you were able to switch Amazon accounts verbally with the Echo. I hope that Google will add that. I've been starting to think a little bit about silos, about how these companies, Apple started it, are creating ecosystems that are unique to the company. And Google, for the first time ever, is doing this. In fact, if I were an Android phone manufacturer, I'd start to wonder at this point, is Google just going to put me out of business? But Samsung, which is putting itself out of business, has got to be very concerned if there's features on the Pixel phone that don't then become part of Android in general.
Yeah, I think that's a big concern. I mean, I know there are a lot of people wondering, is Google competing with Apple head-to-head here?
Yeah, it sounds like it. They're trying to create this closed ecosystem.
I think so, but I think you bring up a good point that they're really going to be competing just as much, if not more, with Android manufacturers, Android hardware partners, than Apple.
Samsung just bought Viv, which this was the company that was the follow-up to Siri, the Siri folks. And it's obvious why Samsung would do that.
There'll be a Samsung voice assistant
too. They have to compete. But for a user, it's a bad idea because you choose now your ecosystem. What if you chose, look at the Samsung ecosystem. Everything Samsung makes, from the Gear VR to the Gear Watch to the 360 camera, requires a Samsung phone. And then the Samsung phone blows up. You suddenly lose not just your phone business, you lose your whole ecosystem business. So there's a risk as well. And from consumer point of view, I hate to have to choose, but I guess we're going to have to, it sounds like.
That's one of the strengths of Amazon's Echo, is that because Amazon doesn't play in all the same fields as Google and Apple, they have support for kind of crossover features that, Google is unlikely to support Apple Music, and I would guess that any future Apple product is unlikely to support Google services.
Google was more open. I mean, Allo runs on iOS and Android, so does Duo, their phone app, camera phone app. I was hoping that Google would kind of be the one to kind of cross platform barriers. Now I'm starting to wonder if they're just looking at Apple's success and saying maybe we ought to be doing that too.
It feels to me like they want to have it both ways.
Yeah. What about the Wi-Fi? What is that? Is OnHub dead?
OnHub is not dead, but really this is where things are going. So if you have an OnHub router, you can actually use that as one of the little pods.
It can be one of the units.
System.
Okay. This looks just like the Eero. Is it an Eero, basically?
It's basically an Eero ripoff. I mean, I think that's a fair way of putting it. So it's a distributed Wi-Fi. They create basically mesh networks, so there's no central router. And as you move through your home, your devices, find what is the nearest and strongest connection point and communicate with that.
I've had great results with the Eero. So this is a good way to do it. There's a lot of other competition. The Luma from Amazon, and then there's this Plume, which is coming out later this year. This is going to be the next thing, I think, for Wi-Fi. It solves a problem a lot of us have.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense, and it's smart for Google to go this direction. If they have OnHub, not doing this would put them behind. So it's easy to say it's a ripoff, but it's also where the technology is going, and it's simply kind of what they had to do.
I think we're going to see something like this from Apple.
It's got to be, right? That airport stuff is also pretty old.
And Apple's left that just so
and it's a natural, right? Because it is so simple to set it up when you plug them in, and then you've got Wi-Fi coverage everywhere.
And since this is the VR show, they also have Daydream, their VR headset, which just looked like a soft, comfortable version of Gear VR. Is it any different?
I mean, it basically... It is cheaper. It isn't as good as Gear VR thus far. And now I only got to spend about 15, 20 minutes with it. It was comfortable and it was light, and I really liked that. Yeah. But it didn't have a strap that goes over the top of your head. So with just that one band around the back, honestly, when I was making quick movements, it kind of felt like it would slip off. So it's definitely better than cardboard, right? But it doesn't seem to quite have the fidelity
functionally,
of
it is cardboard,
VR's
right?
offer.
It is cardboard. It's just not
functionally,
made
it's the same as cardboard. It's just made of really nice cloths and plastics.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like a Lululemon product, really. You know.
With fine Alcantara leather or whatever.
But that that little remote worked quite well with that motion sensing clickable touch panel up top and a couple buttons. I think it's going to be pretty compelling for mobile VR, and we'll see how many Daydream ready phones there are. But this should be able to work with a lot more phones than Samsung's Gear VR. So it should be a more versatile product. I don't think it's going to work with the iPhone, which is kind of a bummer, because I think if they did that, as cardboard was able to do, that could really help them sell more devices.
It's interesting that that all the big companies are converging in certain areas to do the same kind of set of products. It's as almost, I don't know if it's a copycat mentality or there's just consensus. These are the things everybody wants and this is how it's going to be. It worries me a little bit. This seems new to me. There was like this just kind of a lot of different stuff. People were throwing things against the wall. Now we've converged.
I think it goes in cycles, right?
Maybe.
Like the companies, you get new companies, they all get bought up.
Right.
Then you get a cycle where everybody's trying to focus on a few things, and then suddenly there's another big thing that comes in from nowhere.
That's important. The big innovations, the paradigm shifts aren't going to occur at Google, Facebook, Apple, or Microsoft. Right. They're going to happen somewhere else, and then they'll be bought. Nate, great. It's great to see you. I thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure. I was thinking about dressing up like Woody for Toy Story, and your shirt's really inspiring me there.
Hey, little buddy.
That might be my Halloween costume. It's a good look on you.
We could do it together. Yeah. Nathan Olivarez-Giles, thank you so much from the Wall Street Journal. Great to talk to you. We'll see you soon on the Screensavers or
see you soon
on TWiT.